It's always a challenge when it comes to energy efficiency and balancing that off against resiliency. But for me, actually, it's getting the basics right. So we can, Vertiv are really good at putting together a big plan for a client that will end up with a really good goal from an energy saving point of view. But the starting point is always the basics. Simple best practices, low cost, no cost fixes with low risk. And from there, you can then move into the larger efficiency projects, knowing that the basics are covered. The best practices are out there, they're fully published. Things like the EU Code of Conduct for best practices, all of those things in there. And it's simple things like blanking panels, making sure your airflow is correctly, implementing hull containment. And even though I've been doing this job for 20 years, and I'm head of optimization for Vertiv, I still walk onto sites and don't see these simple best practices implemented. I'm not sure anybody knows the true answer. Research has shown that actually 5G is probably going to give us an increase in energy consumption just on the telco side alone, from 100 to 170% in energy consumption. So whilst many devices are getting more efficient, we have the Jevons paradox, the rebound effects. No matter how efficient we make things, we're going to use more of them. So again, I think from our point of view and from Vertiv's point of view, our challenge is to help customers deploy those 5G networks, particularly around the edge, but do that in the most efficient way. If you think about when you build a data center, you build that data center to last as a minimum 15 years, most of them are 20, 25 years or longer, particularly in like the telco space or the traditional enterprise space. So I think we're seeing this kind of lag. There's a lot of traditional buildings that are still there, there's a lot of life in them. Also, companies like to sweat their assets, so it's that kind of lead lag type of approach. So we're starting to see a lot more opportunities as capacity is required, but there's a number of reports in the industry that show that we still have a huge amount of empty space within traditional data centers. So I think there's a lot of work trying to bring those up to standards as well as building out new capacity. Well, the interest is keeping costs down, particularly from day one, and speed of deployment. So when you do an analysis of a traditional data center build, whether that's a small, medium, or even hyperscale, the costs, the design costs, and the speed of deployment are much lower when it comes to a modular solution. The trends that are driving that are what we talked about earlier, Louise, in regards to like 5G, Internet of Things, the whole explosion of the Internet and new apps, autonomous vehicles. These kind of things are going to drive the need for us to have a lot more smaller to medium-sized data centers spread around, i.e. the edge.